Okay, yeah. I mean, look, yeah. Obviously, murdering children is bad.
Murdering children is bad.
This kid's kind of a punk. What's good? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Newest Olympian. My name is Mike Schubert. I'm the titular Newest Olympian. I'm a grown man who never read the Percy Jackson books as a kid, but I'm reading them now for the first time as an adult because I'm on a quest to determine if this is a book series that we've all been sleeping on as a society. And I'm not alone on this quest. I'm never alone on this quest. And I am joined once again by the lovely human being that you might know from fictional fates across YouTube and other social media, like the gorgeous Instagram content. It's Joel Rochester. Joel, how's it going?
Hello, I'm doing very well. I'm really excited to be back for another episode on this double bill special. And yeah, I just can't wait to continue discussing where we left off.
Yes. Now, what we originally planned to do was to do a double recording all in one go, but then with scheduling stuff and all of that, it didn't end up working out. However, it was meant to be because in between recording that episode and this one, we're recording this one on January 27th. I don't think it's coming out till February, March, but in between recordings, the final bit of casting was announced, or at least the final bit of casting that they're going to be doing for the foreseeable future. Lance Reddick is going to be Zeus, which I am so excited for. I could not be more excited. It is the most perfect choice. The casting department knows exactly what they're doing.
Honestly.
I'm furious that I didn't think of it earlier. Lance Reddick is Zeus, and then I'm actually unfamiliar with the actor who's playing Poseidon, Toby Stevens, but he looks the part, and his mom is Maggie Smith, so probably should be okay.
I did not know that. Oh my gosh. I know my friend Rowan is completely obsessed with him from Black Sails, which is a pirate show. So everyone's been so they've basically taken him out of the water to only then put him back into the water. So I was like, oh, maybe I should check out Black Sails before the show comes out so I can get familiar with Toby Stevens. But I didn't know he was Maggie Smith's. I'm excited.
Right. I hope it's not a little nepotism baby thing. That can be a separate discussion. I hope he's earned it on his own merits. But still, if Maggie Smith is your mom, that's pretty cool.
Literally.
But Lance Reddick as Zeus is so perfect.
Honestly.
Because I don't want to give spoilers, but in certain other roles, he plays a character where it's a tie between is he good, is he evil? And I feel like Zeus is a little bit of that of, we're supposed to like him, but he's also kind of a jerk to Percy, but also, it's confusing. And I feel like Lance Reddick does that very well. The same time, he's so lovably likable in The Wire and in John Wick, and I'm just so excited for him to be in the franchise.
No, same. I saw Lance Reddick recently play Albert Wesker in Netflix's Resident Evil, which was cancelled. So that probably also freed up the spot for him to now do Zeus.
Then it was all meant to be, baby.
It was all meant to be. But the way he played Albert Wesker, I feel like if he adopts some of that to play Zeus, it will be really good because it's kind of like that guy that you love, but also you love his brain, but also hate the way he treats people. So
I think that could be very spicy. I like it. I'm excited for Lance in the role. I'm excited for everything. I know there's still some things that they haven't said yet that there could still be some reveals, but it feels like this is, for the most part, the main cast. Yes. Here's hoping that we both get cast as people that are zombies on the Princess Andromeda in the second season. Fingers crossed, Disney, hit us up. We would be a great pair. What if we were
I'd be a great zombie.
I just want to be the zombie dad who tells his kids about the pool. Yes, we should go swim in the pool. It would be so good. It would be so good.
That'd be so funny. Oh, or if I could voice a hippocampus or something. Just
ooh.
Yo, Percy.
Yeah, you could do the mooing for Bessie. There's lots of opportunities there.
A lot of voice work to do.
Yeah, well, I'm super excited for the show. I'm excited for this casting, and I'm excited to continue discussing the fourth book. Now, you are a third-time guest now, meaning you get the third-time guest question, which is, what would your nectar and ambrosia taste like? Oh. So what would be your perfect drink and your perfect food?
Oh, right. I literally think someone asked me this recently because they were saying about if you had to have your body and your blood, bread and wine kind of situation, what would they be?
Oh, if you were Jesus Christ, basically, what would it be?
What would your body and your blood be? And I think I said my blood would probably be something like matcha or coffee, because I was like, those are like two things that I drink a lot of the time. Nectar drink being the matcha and the coffee, then ambrosia food. I honestly think my like ambrosia food would probably be either, if we're going like more of like the sweet side of things, I think it would have to be kind of like a red velvet cake. But if we're going towards like more of like a food kind of scenario, I am a very big fan of like different cheeses. So I definitely think I would go for something like a smoked oak cheddar. Because then it's like something that you can like nibble really quickly if like someone needs ambrosia. So it's like not too difficult to make. Otherwise, there's always the Sims 4 ambrosia, which like takes like a death flower, angelfish, and all of that. So it can bring someone back from the dead. So maybe I'll just make one in a video game.
Amazing. I love it. What a perfect answer. Let's continue through chapter 10 of book 4, where we last left our heroes. They just had a very emotional, dramatic situation with Nico and Bianca and deciding what they were going to do in terms of going through the labyrinth and all of that. We last left them standing by the Happy Flush septic tank. And now they are deciding what is ahead of them. So the team decides that they're going to wait until the morning before they resume their travels. Grover and Percy sleep on couches in the living room inside the house at the ranch. And despite it being more comfortable than a bedroll in the maze, Percy still has a nightmare. So TikTok, it's nightmare o'clock. Here we go, baby.
Oh, gosh, this nightmare. Oh, my.
The nightmares are never particularly fun.
No.
These? Maybe.
Oh, gosh.
So first, Percy dreams that he's with Luke, and he's walking through the palace of Mount Tam. Mount Tam, which I'm very excited to have a new perspective on because I'm doing a live show in San Francisco on February 23rd. Oh. So I'll have to see if Mount Tam maybe has any sort of weird buildings or ominous clouds over it while definitely. I'm there. We'll have to see. I also don't know if the show will have already happened by the time this comes out, but if it's before February 23rd, buy some tickets. Now, the palace here is a true building. It is adorned with green fires along the walls. The floor is black marble, and the ceiling is open to the swirling gray storm clouds that we've come to know and fear for Mount Tam.
Yeah.
Luke is dressed in battle gear, which consists of camouflage pants, a white shirt, and a bronze breastplate. However, his sword, the poorly named one, is not with him. They enter a large courtyard with warriors and Dracani prepping for war, and they all rise to attention when they see him. A Dracana asks if it's time. Luke says soon and instructs them to continue their work. Kelly, with an eye, is behind him, and she, according to Percy, is looking gorgeous in a blue dress. Percy's incredibly nervous because he thinks she's going to do the same sort of thing that she did last time, which involves chasing him out of the dream.
Yes.
Now, she tells Luke that he has a visitor, and the visitor is Campe, which was surprising to me and is surprising to Luke as well.
It was one of those things when I read it, I was just like, hang on a second.
I'm also going to, speaking of Campe, be touring Alcatraz with my parents, because my parents are coming up for the trip as well. So I'll have to be on the prowl to see if I can see Briares' cell when I'm there as well.
Just like, whoop. Do I see it?
Oh, this is the one? Yeah, I'm ready for some great TikTok fodder content. And by that, I mean filming videos and sending them to Sherry because I still refuse to download TikTok. Because I'm a bitter Viner old man and I'll never download TikTok.
I have downloaded TikTok. I'm just a viewer at this point in time, but slowly I'm being like guided towards making TikToks. And so maybe by the next time I come on here, I'll be like, okay, I can give you a masterclass in like making TikToks.
I wish there was some sort of way where I could post them, but not watch a single one.
Oh.
And I feel like the algorithm is going to put stuff in my feed, even if I follow 0 people.
Oh, yeah.
If there was a way where I could just post and not see anything, I would do it. But I just don't want to get sucked in, and I don't want them to have... The algorithm sounds too good. It sounds too good. Like, I'm really scared 10 years from now. They're like, oh, yeah, the algorithm is actually used to murder people. Like, it's something, it's just, they're too precise. They know too much.
They do.
I don't want to get in there. I would love something if I could, even if it was like an indirect thing. Like, can I upload them through like Microsoft Outlook or something? Like, I want something weird. Like when you used to be able to text message tweets to a number and then it would tweet them, you know, back in the olden times. I would love a TikTok service like that. If that exists, hit me up, and then I won't have to do what I currently do, which is send Sherry videos and say, Sherry, will you please upload this to TikTok?
Post this, thank you. Maybe one day.
We'll have to see. Luke is stunned. He tells Campe that he ordered her to stay on Alcatraz. She speaks in her ancient language, but Percy can very conveniently understand it in dream mode. She says, I come to serve, give me revenge. And look, if our 100-handed homie Briares doesn't come through to beat up Campe at the end of the book, I'll be very disappointed. Very, very disappointed, especially because I'm a chunk of the way through chapter 11 and Tyson got sad again about Briares, and Briares has to make up for the crime of making my beautiful friend Tyson sad.
No, honestly, anyone who makes Tyson sad, like, immediately, like, go to Tartarus.
Yes, of course. Yeah, it's all you deserve. Luke says that Campe's job is as a jailer. She says no one escapes her, so she wants them dead. Luke eventually gives in, saying that she can come with them, and he gives her the task of carrying Ariadne's string. He says it's a great honor, but this feels like giving your little brother an unplugged PlayStation 2 controller when you're playing a one-player game.
Yeah, she's like, here you go, here's something you can do and feel like you're a part. You're definitely something. You definitely have a role here.
You can hold the string. Someone needs to do that. It's really important to hold the string. That's got to be a fake role. There's no way that's a real thing.
It cracks me up because there's always like things like that in like a lot of series where it's just like, you do this really like not important thing and just stay in the background, and then it always turns out that they're the one that everyone needs.
Mm-hmm. Could be. We'll have to see. The other thing that it made me wonder about was, does this mean that they already have the string, or is Luke just supremely confident that they will get the string? And they don't really answer it, so you can't tell. Good. Yes, a very good there. But yeah, it just made me think, what's going on with the string? If they have it, I don't like that. If they don't have it, I enjoy Luke having some hubris, potentially. Campe heads down the hall. Luke says that they should have left her in Tartarus because she's too chaotic and too powerful. Kelly tells Luke to not fear power, but to use it instead. And Luke says the sooner that they leave, the better, because he wants this to be over. And then Kelly hits him with a, "Aw, you find it unpleasant to destroy your old camp?" And I wrote in my notes, I mean, yeah. And then I wrote, wait, no, I don't want to feel bad for Luke. He made this bed and now he has to lay in it. I don't want to have sympathy for Luke. You did this to yourself. I don't care if you're in over your head at this point.
He's such a complicated character because there are points where you're like, he's definitely in way over his head and he doesn't really realize what he's getting into until these kinds of things starts happening. And he's like, oh, well,
Yeah, and it's really setting it up for the last minute, oh, I've realized the errors of my ways, which I really think is going to happen. And I'm just preemptively talking about it now so that I don't get upset, because it is going to upset me. Because I just, like, look, sometimes people can just be bad. And I think Luke is just bad. He made a bad decision and he was stubborn and he didn't get out. And if he tries to win favor with this whole, like, yeah, I'm so sorry, Annabeth, my bad, at the end, I don't care. I don't care. I'll be like, great, thanks for helping us, but you suck, and you sucked the whole time.
This is just me doing, like, non-spoilery, like, like,
I can't the say soundboard. So after Luke denies feeling bad about destroying Camp Half-Blood, Kelly asks if he's getting cold feet about his, quote, special part, which I don't love. Luke's face turns stony, and he says, I know my duty, which has really big non-answer vibes.
Yeah.
It very much feels like he is uncomfortable with his special part, but he doesn't want to admit it to Kelly.
Definitely. He's like, I'm definitely feeling some type of way about it, but I need to appear like I'm part of the team here.
And I can't let you know that I'm secretly incredibly terrified of everything that's happening around me.
Yes.
Kelly says this is good, and then asks if he thinks their strike force is sufficient. If not, she offers to call Mother Hecate for help. And again, I'm very excited because Hecate, I think, is a character in Hades 2, the sequel.
Yes.
So, it's going to be very fun. Yes. I'm really excited for that game. And I need to really start getting ahead of editing now so that when Hades 2 comes out, I can just play that game nonstop for 1,000,000 hours and be like, it's okay. I'm 15 episodes ahead of this point.
It's okay. I'm researching. It's just for research, for references.
It's tough because it actually, at this point in time, probably would help me for the job. And it's just, I need to save me from myself because it's like, oh no, look, there's other characters. Now I'll learn more about Hephaestus. No, you don't need to do this, Mike.
I've been playing a video game recently that's like all about Greek mythology and stuff. I think I talked about it last episode. I can't remember. But
which game is it?
It's Immortals Phoenix Rising.
Ooh, okay.
I can come on to it a little bit later because I think in chapter 11, the main villain of the game is referenced. But that one is like Zeus and Prometheus, like narrating in the background. It's so funny because we're going through like different types of Greek myths as like we're exploring and stuff. And like Prometheus is like, you did this, Zeus. And Zeus was like, I only did it because of X, Y, and Z. Like, I didn't think it was that bad. And then Prometheus is like, you literally like sent him down a mountain. Like, what did you think would happen?
Look, Zeus isn't concerned with the consequences of his actions. He's just concerned with his immediate emotions.
Yeah. He plays around and finds out.
Thank you for the PG version of that. Luke says that they are well set and the deal is almost complete. And I'm thinking that this has to be the Nico thing, which now the deal is not complete. Ha ha ha. You've been thwarted by Percy Jackson. Luke says that all he needs now is safe passage through the arena, which feels like a place where a big duel is going to happen later in book 4. Kelly agrees, saying that she'd hate to see his head on a spike if he fails. Feels like a very high stakes arena. Mm-hmm. Luke says that he won't fail, and he asks Kelly, quote, don't you have other matters to attend to? She smiles and says her task is to bring despair to her eavesdropping enemies. She then turns to Percy and rips up the dream with her talons, which does confirm she totally knew he was here the whole time.
Yep.
And she is just... she is quite dastardly in her villainry because it's a bit of, yeah, she has the goal, but also doesn't feel like she's that concerned with it. It feels like she's more concerned with just causing mayhem for as many people as possible. And if Luke's plan falls through, she doesn't seem that worried about it. Yeah. Otherwise, she would have kicked Percy out immediately. Kelly is a very compelling villain, a compelling villain, if you will. Boo, boo.
She's definitely acting with her own interests. And I feel like it's a case of like, well, you know, I don't need this. This is just like something that's just buying me time to the next big thing. So I can just entertain this theory for now. And then if it works out, it works out.
Yeah, she's just truly having fun. And the way she has fun is by messing with people. And talk about messing with people. What a fun new dream we get here. Oh, boy. Percy finds himself atop a stone tower overlooking rocky cliffs and the ocean. Daedalus is hunched over a work table making some sort of navigational instrument like a big compass. And I remembered, because I certainly took note of it, I believe when we were in the labyrinth at some point, we saw a giant compass. I don't remember if it was in one of the first rooms or if it was just in Daedalus's first dreams. I remember at some point there were scraps and I was like, a compass, is that important? Or is it just flavor text? And I don't know if it's the same one, but it just made me think, I feel like that was a thing. It sounds familiar.
A little bit of foreshadowing.
Or backshadowing. Oh, that's certainly a term. I know English. Now, he looks older than last time. He curses in ancient Greek as he works, squinting as if he can't see, despite it being bright because it's daytime. A boy about Nico's age, so preteen, is holding a wooden box and he comes running up to Daedalus saying, Uncle. And right away, spoiler alert, hate that I got this right, but I wrote in my notes, all caps, oh gods, if this kid dies too.
Yeah. Thing is though, I feel like this kid, I think he did provoke.
I mean, look, yeah, obviously murdering children is bad.
Murdering children is bad.
This kid's kind of a punk.
Yeah.
He's a brat. He's a know-it-all. He is the true epitome of a snot-nosed kid. It's not worthy of murder.
No, definitely not.
But he was super annoying.
Yeah. It was just when he referenced, later on when he's like, oh, like, your son died. Look how better I am.
Yeah. Well, let's get into this. For anyone that doesn't remember, the last time we saw Daedalus, his son fell from the sky despite Daedalus's warnings and protests and instructions. Daedalus tried to do everything in his power to keep his son alive, and his son Icarus still died. And now we get a fun adventure with Daedalus. So Daedalus greets this kid as Perdix. Look, if you're going to be annoying and you have a really annoying sounding name like Perdix. I'm sure that Perdix means something, but Perdix?
I wonder if it does have a meaning.
I'm going to really quick reference notes that I was sent by previous guest, Red, from Overly Sarcastic Productions, because I think she took some notes about this dream. So here's what Red sent to me. Percy's dream. a slightly dramatized retelling of the Icarus myth. So this is for the Icarus dream, but obviously very close to the version recounted by Ovid, with the minor change that, and then she just wrote in all caps, plot spoilers redacted. She let me know that. It's towards the end of the book, so I have no idea what it is. Now, here was a note following that I think has more reference to this dream. Apollodorus is the source of the idea that Daedalus killed his nephew Talos because he was jealous of his cunning and skill, which is also in this book, though in this version he's called Perdix, which is usually the name of his mother, Daedalus' sister, and only sometimes the name of the nephew as well. In Ovid's Metamorphosis, his name is Talus, but Athena turns him into a partridge, which is the literal meaning of Perdix, his mother's name, when Daedalus kills him. The book also reverses the order, having Daedalus kill him after Icarus is already dead, instead of this being the cause of his exile in the first place. So, very interesting stuff.
That's so ironic, because obviously Daedalus' son, Icarus, couldn't fly. And so he's dead because he was a bit dull. And then you have Perdix, who's a bird who can fly and is incredibly clever.
Yeah. It's very interesting. And I'm intrigued by the whole myth. I'll talk about it more, I'm assuming, with Dr. Moya in the post-book 4 mythology recap episode. But it's all very, very interesting here.
Yeah.
But Perdix. Yeah. Wasn't Talos also the name of Hephaestus's giant that he made and that was in book 3?
Yes. It was like this giant automaton kind of thing made of bronze. I think it was like made to like protect, but I can't remember exactly what it was made to protect, but...
Yeah, okay. Interesting that Talos, Perdix, this will get delved into further in the mythology episode. We've got book stuff to cover. Yes. And it's... Perdix, Perdix, what are we going to do with you besides kill you? Now, Daedalus asks if he's done with his projects already. Perdix confirms and says that they were easy. Daedalus says, quote, the problem of moving water uphill without a pump was easy, and Perdix confirms and dumps out the contents of the box that he was holding. He holds up a papyrus strip with diagrams and notes on it, and Daedalus is impressed. Perdix, whose parents really need a stern talking to, because how are you going to name your kid Perdix and then also let him grow up to be a jerk like this?
Yeah.
Perdix says that the king loved it and told Perdix that he might be smarter than Daedalus. And I was wondering about, is this the same king as before? Is this a new king? I don't know if they actually answer it or maybe if they will later on, but I was a little confused about which king we were talking about here. Like, did Daedalus get recaptured? Is he back with Minos? Is it somebody else? Is this a new land that he's in? I was confused.
I think it is implied that it's like a new land, but I might be wrong.
That's what I'm thinking, because it doesn't seem like he's in any sort of captivity, so it feels like a new land. Perdix says that he doesn't believe the king and is glad that his mom sent him to study with Daedalus. So, okay, being a little nice. Daedalus asks if that's so Perdix can take Daedalus's place when he dies. And Perdix says, oh no, uncle, but I've been thinking, why does a man have to die anyway? And I'm just thinking, don't do it. You can't do this. Immortality's bad. We've learned this from this series. Daedalus says it's the way of life. All die aside from the gods. The boy asks why, citing that if you can capture the animus, the soul, into another form, can't you make a bronze form of a man like Daedalus's automatons that he makes of bulls and eagles and dragons and horses? And this made me very confident in the fact that Kronos is going to come back as some giant bronze monster, a bronster, if you will, and I'm not looking forward to them having to fight the big old bronster.
The bronster.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It has to happen, and it's going to be very terrifying. It's the form that we had mentioned before. Daedalus tells Perdix that he's being naive, as such a thing is impossible. Perdix disagrees, saying that with a little bit of magic, and then Daedalus scoffs at the notion of magic. Perdix insists that with magic and mechanics together, one could make a body that would look exactly human, only better. And now it's getting into ex machina territory, where Perdix is just, too smart for his own good at this point. Yes. Too ambitious. You're going to create problems. Just watch one sci-fi movie, Perdix. Come on, man.
Honestly, like iRobot, Play Detroit Become Human, Cyberpunk. Nothing ever goes right with these kinds of things.
No. Blade Runner, come on. Lots of bad ideas. Lots of terrifying things happening here.
Yeah.
Perdix says that he's made notes and he hands a scroll over to Daedalus. And Daedalus studies it for a while before closing it and telling the boy that it'll never work and he will understand when he's older. And at this point, I thought Daedalus knows that this will work, but he's spooked, so he doesn't want Perdix to believe that it will work because maybe he's trying to save him from himself. Perdix asks, "Can I fix that astrolabe then, uncle? Are your joints swelling up again?" And Daedalus gets a little bit perturbed, understandably so.
Yes.
And at this point, I realize Perdix means well. And yeah, he's 12, 13, so he's not going to have an incredible social understanding. I feel like at this age, he should be a little bit more adjusted.
Yeah.
He's just a little too know-it-all-ish, and you got to know, hey, maybe don't bring up the fact that this guy is old and he can't do all the things he used to like doing as well. Come on, man.
It's just unnecessary salt in the wound.
Mm-hmm. It's all unnecessary for sure. And narrator Percy notes that Perdix is completely unaware of Daedalus's very visible anger, which is just a classic dynamic for a person like this. Perdix sets off a bronze beetle to fly into the sky from the cliff's edge, and Percy notes that he's very close to the cliff's edge, and that's when I knew something really bad was going to happen. Narrator Percy would not have interjected to mention this unless he was going to fall off this cliff later, and that just really was a heavy-handed, let me just tell you about the proximity to the ledge. Oh, yeah, sure, thanks, Narrator Percy.
A real cliffhanger.
Nice. Perdix then asks Daedalus, and I just... Look, you can be socially inept and not everybody's going to pick up on cues of visual anger and stuff, but you should probably know not to ask questions like this. Perdix asks Daedalus if it's true that his son died flying. First off, already a bad thing to ask.
Too far.
But then second, because of a failed invention from Daedalus. Are you kidding me?
Like, after everything Daedalus tried to do to save his son, and then you just go and be like, it's your fault your son died. Like...
Remember that time your son died? And remember that time it was your fault, you idiot?
Yeah.
And just like completely unprovoked, just like a question out of the blue. It wasn't related to anything.
No,
it wasn't like
literally.
they were talking about flying inventions. It's not like they were talking about Icarus. It's not like they were talking about the sea or the sun. Nothing. Just straight up small talk conversation.
Gut punch.
How's it going, uncle? Didn't you kill your kid because you're bad at inventing?
It's like, oh, you're getting old. You're bad at inventing. Like, your son died because of you. Like... It's like, maybe it's time to step down. Maybe it's time for me to, like, take over.
It's just so much stuff in rapid succession. And then this is just the cherry on top of the poop sundae. You just can't do it. You can't do it.
Yeah.
I then wrote in my notes, is Daedalus about to chuck this kid off a cliff? What kind of question is that? And then I wrote in my notes in not all caps, ... oh no, ... I think he genuinely might.
Oh, no. Daedalus is about to play ultimate frisbee.
Oh, truly ultimate. My goodness. Before Perdix sets off the beetle, Daedalus muttered, "Smarter than me." And now after this question, he mutters, "Take my place." So clearly Daedalus is not only angry at this sort of question, but is a little bit jealous / annoyed by the thought of Perdix even being on his level. So it's a little bit of deserved ire and a little bit of, you don't have to be mad about that stuff. So not fully justified, which makes the situation a little more complex. Obviously, the murder is uncalled for in general, but
definitely.
Even the anger has some stuff that I feel like is a little out of hand.
It's very murky.
Mm-hmm. Perdix says that he would like to fly, and I wrote, dude, you are about to. And that he would make his own wings that wouldn't fail.
Oh,
come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on.
Like, keeps just going.
We had the cherry on top of the poop sundae. Now he's added some hot fudge. Like, come on, dude. You can't keep laying it on like this.
I just kept like saying, stop talking now. Shush, shut up.
Really bad stuff. Perdix asks Daedalus if he thinks that Perdix could do it, and Percy imagines Janus appearing next to Daedalus and telling him to choose. Percy isn't sure if this is just him imagining it or if this legitimately happened and it's a fun, unconfirmed detail of the dream. Daedalus picks up one of Perdix's metal bags and with eyes red with anger, tosses a bronze beetle towards Perdix and tells him to catch. But the toss is too long, intentionally so Perdix leaps into the air to catch it. The wind picks him up and he begins to fall, but he does grab the cliff's edge, a literal cliffhanger like you said. He asks for Daedalus's help and Daedalus simply says, "Go on, Perdix, make your own wings, be quick about it," which is incredibly savage. Mm-hmm. It's on par with Scar and Mufasa in The Lion King. Like, it's that level of biting line to say, "Long live the king" type stuff. Oh, yeah. It's pretty good villainry from Daedalus. What a powerful thing to say.
This is kind of like if Simba and Scar were in this fight and this happened and Scar won.
That's true. My goodness. So Perdix cries out, "Uncle," as he loses his grip and falls towards the sea. And didn't Icarus say father as he fell towards the sea in the dream? Like, really interesting parallel there.
So. Yeah.
I think he screamed father as he fell. So Perdix screaming uncle as he falls. Oh, man. I don't know if that's in the myths or if that was a choice by Rick, but whoever made that choice, that's good. It's really good. And super crushing. I felt not happy after reading this.
I mean, the same for Perdix as well.
Yeah, I mean, Perdix obviously feels bad because he's dead. Percy feels bad, which is exactly what Kelly was trying to do. Props to Rick. That conveyed very well in the writing. It's a crushing dream.
It is.
So there's a moment of silence. Janice disappears, and Percy is unsure if it actually happened or not. Thunder shakes, and a woman's voice from above says, "You will pay the price for that, Daedalus." And that feels very much like something rooted in the myth, and I'm really excited to learn what the other stories are. And Percy recognizes this voice as Athena's. Daedalus scowls and says, "I have always honored you, mother." So now we learn Daedalus' mother. I don't think that was said before until now.
Yeah, I think this is the first time that was mentioned.
Yeah, and I think it might even be the first time it was mentioned that he's a demigod, which makes sense as to how he would still be alive, because earlier in the book they were wondering, oh, Daedalus has to be 1,000 years old at this point or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Daedalus continues, "I have sacrificed everything to follow your way." And then Athena replies, "Yet the boy had my blessings as well, and you have killed him. For that you must pay." So Daedalus says he's already paid and that he's lost everything. He says he knows he'll suffer in the underworld, but in the meantime, ... and then he grabs Perdix's scroll. So this now really explains how Daedalus could still be alive today. He's going to try to figure out immortality, which I'm sure he will soon regret.
Yes.
Athena warns that he doesn't understand and that he will pay now and forever. And Daedalus collapses in agony, and Percy can feel his strong pain like a molten hot collar cutting off his breath. And that causes Percy to wake up. Very scary way to wake up. And Percy is clutching his throat when he wakes up as if the dream was real. Before we see what happens after Percy wakes up, let's take a little bit of a break for the Admiral of the Labyrinth. I'll be talking about live show stuff. The Europe tour, for example, which Joel might be in attendance. The London show, maybe. So you might want to listen in. Hello and welcome to the Admiral of the Labyrinth San Diego edition. I'm here for Johnny Frolickstein's bachelor party, and it has been a fun time. First time in the city. Love it. Lovely town. Thank you for having me. And I'm now excited to talk about some updates for the show. First off, before I get into a whole bunch of live show related things, I just want to mention a Patreon perk that I don't mention often enough. If you support at any tier at thenewsolympian.com/Patreon, you get ad-free versions of the episodes. So if you don't want to deal with hearing any sort of advertisements on episodes of TNO, you can listen to ad-free episodes if you join the Patreon and listen there. So that is available to you. And then, of course, there's all those other fun perks like director's commentary and bonus episodes, such as potentially the bonus episode that Joel and I floated here. So maybe that riddle one will be coming soon if you join at thenewsolympian.com/Patreon. Okay, now let's talk about live show stuff. First, if you are hearing this when the episode comes out, that means I'm performing in San Diego later today. San Diego show February 20th, 2 LA shows on February 21st, and a San Francisco show on the 23rd. I just posted on social media what the shows are about, but we're covering chapter 14 in San Diego, chapter 15 in Los Angeles, and chapter 16 in San Francisco. And then there's really fun, goofy Potterless stuff happening at all three. So just go to the Newest Olympians Twitter or Instagram and you will see that. Then I'm coming to Europe, doing a bunch of shows in Europe. The London show that Joel and I talked about is happening. Joel will be the guest. That will be on March 9th, 2022. And there are a whole bunch of other shows. We did sell out of the Amsterdam tickets. We're trying to add another show. Copenhagen, the TNO show sold out. The Potterless show is not sold out. And London is getting there too. If you're thinking about getting a ticket, I would say get the ticket just because some seem to be selling out. And if you live in Munich, the tickets are now live. If you live in Berlin, I should have them live this week. And same thing with Finland. For both of those places, I'm just trying to figure out some tax government stuff before I launch the tickets to make sure that I don't get audited by international IRS equivalents. So hopefully this week, those tickets for the Helsinki shows and the Berlin show will be live. If you want tickets to any of those shows, you can go to thenewestolympian.com/live. And if you want to see some sort of live show, but I'm not coming to any of your cities and you are okay with learning a little bit about basketball / if you like poetry, you should come to the Digital Horse Show. If you go to bit.ly/horse3123, horse all lowercase and then the numbers 3123, you can get a ticket to our digital live show where Adam Mamawala and I will be doing rhyming couplets for each of the 75 members in the NBA's top 75 of all time list. It will be silly and goofy and interactive because you get to pick who wins, who does a better job of coming up with cheesy poems, me or Adam. Now, I want to take some time to thank the folks who are supporting the show on Patreon. Really helps. It's really crucial to me being able to do this as my job. So I want to give a shout out to the folks who have most recently joined the Patreon. So shout out to our newest Mega God tier patron Fawny Bon and our newest demigod tier patrons Rebecca Greaser and Stimphalian Nerd, which is a great patron name. And also a name correction for someone who gave me the traditional German way to properly say their name, and I hope I'm doing this right, Marco. If I didn't, you can send me some more tips. I've tried my best here. But a name correction for Marco Reusch, the Great Noodle. Now, if you're all caught up on the Newest Olympian and you're looking for a new podcast to listen to, I make a whole bunch of podcasts. I'm an independent podcast boy, and I make some shows that I think that you would like. One of the shows that I make that you might enjoy is Potterless. Potterless is very similar in structure to the Newest Olympian, except it's about the Harry Potter books. If you're looking for something to listen in between episodes of the Newest Olympian, Potterless has over 200 available, so there's lots of content to listen to. We cover the books, the movies, spin-off stuff, fan-made stuff. Then there's lots of live show episodes with goofy, more improvised things. Lots of really fun episodes with lots of really fun guests, some of whom have been guests on TNO as well. So you can listen to Potterless wherever you get your podcasts by searching for Potterless or going to potterlesspodcast.com. And before we wrap up here, you're going to hear words from a few sponsors who make it feasible for me to be a full-time podcaster. Some of these ads will be read by me. Others of them won't. The ones that are not read by me are inserted locally. So if you live in San Diego, don't be surprised if you hear an ad for an incredible local taco shop, because I have been eating at many of those over the course of this holiday weekend. And my, oh my, it's some really good stuff. Anyway, once those ads are complete, we'll get back to this episode of the Newest Olympian. And we're back. Percy wakes up very abruptly. Grover asks if he's okay. Percy is unsure how to answer that because the dream was supremely bad. It was a really bad dream that has shook him to his core, and I can clearly see why.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, just the way he woke up, like, I would never want that for me. Like, oh, traumatizing.
No, not fun at all. Not fun at all. But I mean, props to Kelly. She really lived up to her word that she was going to destroy Percy's vibe with the dreams, and she did it.
Yes.
So Percy asks Grover what time it is. Grover says it's 2 a.m., and the TV is set to the Nature Channel. Grover said he couldn't sleep, and he misses Juniper. I still don't know if we can trust Juniper. I still don't know. I'm still not feeling great about it. She could be the spy. They said there were multiple spies. All the nymphs could be spies, and Juniper could be one of them. I need confirmation that she's okay before I can care about her relationship with Grover, because I just don't know. I just don't know.
We shall see.
Percy says that Grover will see her again soon. Grover shakes his head sadly. According to the TV, it's June 13th. It is 7 days since they left, so they are at the deadline. Percy thinks that can't be right, but Grover reminds him that time moves faster in the Labyrinth. Percy then realizes what Grover's getting at, that the deadline is passed, and Grover thinks they'll revoke his license as soon as he returns. But I'm thinking, look, if you come back with Pan, you're good. You're going to be fine.
Oh, yeah.
So if you show up a little late, but you have Pan, I think your license is going to get laminated, baby. You're good.
The lamination, like,
magical
shining
lamination
in the sun.
Ooh, yeah, like a holographic. Ooh, it turns holographic. Ooh, baby.
That would be pretty good.
Percy says that they will find a way to get him more time, but Grover says that they won't go for it, and he's proud of Percy for saving the animals from Geryon, and he wishes that he could be more like Percy. Percy and I tell Grover not to say that because he's as much of a hero as Percy is.
Exactly.
But before Percy can finish that thought, Grover interjects to say that he isn't despite his attempts. He tells Percy that he can't return to camp without Pan because he wouldn't be able to face the council or Juniper or even himself. I love Grover. It's just, he takes everything so seriously and he's such a good soul. Yeah. I hope that he finds Pan. I really, really hope he does. That could be so good for him. I want nothing but the best for Grover.
Grover's one of those characters that I feel like grows the most. Grover. He grows the most throughout the entire series because we see him change a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the more confidence he gets, the more he feels like he's able to do things. And I think this is definitely one of the books that really consolidates and shows a really good growth from him.
Right. And I feel like each growth that he has in each book is a different type. Yes. I feel like in the second book, he became so much more brave. Mm-hmm. And in the third book, he was better suited with his magical abilities. And now in this one, I feel like he's becoming more mature, just kind of as a person, as a friend, understanding stakes and stuff like that.
Definitely. I agree with you.
You're absolutely right. A lot of growing from Grover. Percy says they'll figure something out. Classic Percy, classic me, just saying that when you do not mean it at all, when you have no sort of plan in mind. And he reminds Grover that Grover is the champion goat boy, which Grover repeats dejectedly. Eventually, Grover's able to fall asleep. Percy can't go back to bed. The next morning, they leave. Percy tells Nico that he should join them, but Nico shakes his head. He looks rough. He's got red eyes and a chalky face. He says he needs time to think. And honestly, you know who needs a good mental health break right now? Nico D'Angelo. I think it is okay that he is not going into the very scary labyrinth with them.
Exactly. This is a recurring theme for Nico. It's like someone needs to check up on that boy. Like, please, welfare.
Get him a therapist. Get him someone to hug. Yes. Get him supportive friends, please.
Yes.
Please. Annabeth tells him that Bianca just wants him to be okay, and he turns to walk back towards the house. Annabeth says that she's worried about him, especially if he talks to Minos again. But Eurytion says that he'll be all right, and he promises to keep Nico safe. Percy asks Eurytion what he'll do now, and he says that he's putting an end to the sacred cattle meat and instead will pivot to soybean patties, which is very cool and very ahead of the time. Yes. I love a lab-grown beef. I'm a big fan of the Impossible and the Beyond and all that stuff. Shout out to Uncle Rick for being incredibly ahead of the curve.
Like, well done.
Mm-hmm. He says that he will befriend the flesh-eating horses and sign up for the next rodeo, which is incredible. And the narrator Percy notes that he shudders at the idea, but wishes him good luck. And for a second, I thought Percy was just shuddering at the thought of going to a rodeo, which is a very New York vibe. I think the shuddering was specifically bringing flesh-eating horses to a rodeo.
Yeah. Oh, that would be quite...
Right? I'm worried about the other cattle. Now, Eurytion asks if they're in search of Daedalus's workshop. Annabeth confirms and asks if he can help them find it. He says he doesn't know where to find it, but Hephaestus would. And Annabeth relays that that's exactly what Herod told them, so then she asks, how do we find Hephaestus? Eurytion hands a silver necklace to Annabeth, and it has a pendant on it. It's a silver disc with a depression in it like a thumbprint. He explains that Hephaestus visits from time to time to study the animals so that he can make bronze automaton copies of them. Eurytion says, quote, last time I did him a favor, a little trick he wanted to play on my dad, Ares, and Aphrodite. He gave me that chain in gratitude, said if I ever needed to find him, the disc would lead me to his forges, but only once. And I gotta talk to Dr. Moya because I want to know what this little favor is and this little trick is. Annabeth is shocked that Eurytion would give it to her, but he explains that he has no need to see the forges because he's got enough going on here. He instructs Annabeth to simply push the button and they'll be on their way. She does, and it springs 8 legs like a tiny mechanical spider, and Annabeth drops it out of fear, a natural reaction. Mm-hmm. And Grover explains that Annabeth is afraid of spiders, mentioning the feud between Athena and Arachne.
Oh, the spider. The spiders.
Ooh. This little guy seems cute. The other spiders from before, less cute. I'm okay with this little necklace spider. He seems like a good egg. Mm-hmm. Eurytion apologizes for not warning her. I really like this guy. Yeah. This guy is considerate. He is nice. He is not full of himself. Seems like a great dude. If he came back in some way, shape, or form, I'd be happy. If not, I'm just going to believe he's the most wonderful ranch hand this side of the Mississippi.
He's a great character. And I think, I can't remember if he comes back or not. Mm-hmm. But I enjoy his moments.
Yeah, I really enjoy him a lot. He's a good dude. The spider scatters into the cattle guard, and Percy calls for the team to follow it quickly. They all say their goodbyes. Tyson removes the guard, and they drop through the hole back into the labyrinth. Narrator Percy notes that the spider is a challenge to follow, but thankfully, Tyson and Grover both have excellent hearing, so with their skills, they can follow the sounds of the spider scurrying. They approach an area with a huge abyss, and Tyson saves Percy from falling in it since they were running. It's basically a 100-foot gap with monkey bars on the top. The spider easily traverses it with a metal fiber, but here's my question. How does it stick? Is there a sticky substance of sorts? Is it magnetic? They say that the bars are iron. Is iron even magnetic? Is iron magnetic?
I think so.
The metals that are magnetic are also the metals that can be made into magnets. The most common magnetic metal is iron. Okay, so maybe it's magnets.
Maybe it's magnets.
Maybe it's magnets, but still, pretty cool vibe from the spider, but also just the worst person to follow. It's like when you have to follow your dad who's driving somewhere and he runs a yellow light. Like, Dad, come on, you know I can't do this.
And it's just like very bad guidance where it's just like going too fast and you're like, hang on, like I'm literally needing like a second to catch up.
Yes, thankfully my dad is better as someone to follow, never runs a yellow light, but according to my mom, he will pull, quote, lane switching crap, which makes him harder to follow when you're driving.
That's so funny.
Shout out to my parents who will be listening to this in the car at some point, and hopefully, Joel, you don't do any lane switching crap. Just ease it up a little bit. Come on. You're not going to get there that much faster. Stay in your lane. Literally. So the spider easily traverses this, and Annabeth is excited because she's good at monkey bars. Are you good at monkey bars? I don't think I'm good at monkey bars. I haven't done them in a while, but I don't think I'd be good.
Love monkey bars.
Okay.
On the playground, they were the thing that I gravitated to the most because I used to be able to like swing not only from like my arms, but I used to put my legs and just dangle from the bottom. Ooh. And then there was a time where like I kind of did like flips. So I like went boom, but like I was basically like pretending that I was cosplaying Lara Croft and I was like, okay, I'm going through a tomb, let's go. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
We got to get you in Cirque du Soleil, Cirque du Soleil. We got to get you in there. I'll have to see if the venue, they asked me for my technical specs for the London show. I'll have to see if I can install some monkey bars real quick so that you can enter the stage via monkey bars. And now, welcome to the stage, Joel. He flips onto stage.
It's like, boom.
Lands in the chair perfectly.
I'm like, hello, I am here.
Everyone holds up 10s in the crowd.
That would be so fun.
Annabeth is excited. She's good at monkey bars. Narrator Percy says, quote, she was scared of tiny spiders, but not plummeting to her death from a set of monkey bars. Go figure. Amazing. Amazing stuff. Percy follows Annabeth to the other side, and then when he turns back around, he says as the narrator, quote, I looked back and saw Tyson giving Grover a piggyback ride, or was it a goatee-back ride? The big guy made it across in 3 swings, which was a good thing, since just as he landed, the last iron bar ripped free under his weight. A couple questions here. First off, 3 swings? He's going 33.3 repeating feet per swing?
Yeah.
That is huge. That's over 3 basketball hoops. That is very far. I know Tyson's a giant, but those are big swings.
They are like Olympic gymnast level of swinging.
Yeah, huge dismount. And then it makes complete sense that that final bar would fall off because, yeah, it was the force of a 33-foot vault grab swing. Like, yeah, dude, of course you're going to rip a bar. That's a huge amount of force, especially with 2 people. Come on.
Exactly. But amazing like work from Tyson there.
Yeah, this makes me feel like I need to bust out the old TI-80 calculator. I really want to get back to my engineering days and do this sort of math problem. You know, a giant is swinging with a goat boy on his back. He has to cover a 100-foot gap. He can do it in 3 swings and then figure out whatever the tensile strength of iron is and see if the force... this could be a really fun physics problem.
I feel like if there is ever like an Olympian like university, this is the kind of stuff that they would teach.
Ooh, yeah. Now, the other question I have, Percy wonders if it's a piggyback or a goatee back ride, and I've never really thought about this before, but if it was a goatee back, I don't think that would make sense because the goat is on the back of Tyson. It feels weird to name it after the person on the back.
Yeah.
Because I would imagine a piggyback ride is you're on the piggy's back.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a goatee back ride. It would be a cyclopsy back ride or a giant back clopsy back ride. Yeah. But it's a good joke.
Yeah.
It's a good joke, Uncle Rick. And I'm doing the cool thing where you overthink a joke and make it not funny anymore. But it did make me think, I've never thought of the etymology of piggyback ride. Like, who decided that's what it is? I've never ridden a pig. They're not particularly large. I feel like that's a bad idea. So I don't know what happened that it became piggyback ride, and we all just as humans were like, yep, that's what this is called, and this is what everyone calls it in the whole wide world. Do they call it that in London, or do you guys have some other silly name for it?
Oh no, we do piggyback as well.
Okay. Well, there you go. We'll have to I don't know. If anyone knows the history of the piggyback, hit me up. Send an email to thenewsolympian@gmail.com. Now they continue. They pass a skeleton wearing business clothes, and Percy at one point slips on a pile of pencils broken in half. I knew that this would be important somehow because it felt too specific not to be, and it did come back, not in the way that I would have guessed, but I love the way it comes back. They enter from a tunnel into a large room filled with dozens of skeletons. Some of them are old, some of them are more fresh, if you will, but they have a quite bad stench associated with them for being more recent additions to the collection.
Yes.
Percy then sees a monster atop a glittery dais across the room. It has the body of a lion and the head of a woman. And narrator Percy says she would have been pretty, which feels like an unnecessary comment, but her hair was tied back in a tight bun. Also, what is the problem with buns? But then notes that she's wearing too much makeup. I can understand that. Look, teach their own. I'm not a big fan of lots of makeup. Kelly doesn't wear a lot of makeup. We're a fit there, but I could see that. But yeah, just being like, she would have been pretty if she had a hat different. I felt like, all right, this is unnecessary, Percy. You don't need to call it. Who cares? It's a monster. Yeah, this unimportant. She also has a blue ribbon pinned to her chest that reads, "This monster has been rated exemplary," which is very good. And I feel like that could be some great merchandise that people should wear. I'm just always imagining these things, and people wonder, why don't you turn these into merch items for TNO?
Has been rated exemplary.
Yeah. Okay, see, that's the thing. TM. The whole thing is I don't want to do something straight up from the book because then I could get sued by Disney, which is not something I'm trying to do. But if I switch it up, that's good. I'll have to see if I can make legitimate ribbons. This listener has been rated exemplary. It would be very fun merchandise.
It would be amazing.
Just going to make a note. This listener has been rated exemplary and give Joel a commission of the sales. Yes. Okay. Tyson identifies this monster as a sphinx, and he does so in a scared tone because, as we know, he has a bad history with sphinxes. He was attacked by one when he was younger. And what this also means is that it's got to be riddle time if this sphinx follows the only other sphinx knowledge I have, which is from Goblet of Fire. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, the riddles are supposed to happen, but they don't. And it made me really upset because I love riddles. Are you a riddle guy? I love riddles.
I love riddles. I was like, riddle me this. Like, give me the riddle. And then it was like, welcome to a game show.
Welcome to fun facts that Rick needs to teach his sixth graders. I was very disappointed at the lack of riddles. I can side with Annabeth here.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely.
So Annabeth approaches, the Sphinx roars, and then bars block both tunnel exits, and the Sphinx's snarl turns into a smile, and she says, "Welcome, lucky contestants. Get ready to play. Answer that riddle." And then there's canned applause that comes in from the ceiling. What a vibe. It's so good. I love this so much. And now the title of the chapter makes sense. It's the game show of death.
Yes.
The Sphinx continues. Fabulous prizes. Pass the test and you get to advance. Fail and I get to eat you. Who will be our contestant? This is so good. I cannot wait for this to be the show. What a fun vibe. It's so unexpected. It's beautiful.
I feel like they could really dedicate a whole episode or like half an episode to just this bit where it's just like, welcome to the game show. And yeah,
it's really fun. It's so different from what we just went through, and it makes you feel weirdly not as scared of the scary monster because it seems like not as high of stakes. But even saying that, I realize that's silly because The monster literally said, if you lose, I'm going to eat you. It's confusing in the best way.
I feel like it's in the presentation of it, though, because I think something that Rick does really well is like balance kind of like the seriousness with the comedic. And so it's like the serious threat of death is there. And we've just had like someone seriously die. But then presenting this kind of serious threat of death in a comedic way really just like makes it like, oh, we can enjoy this, even though they're in like mortal danger. It's presented like, oh, it's a laugh.
Right. And I think it makes it even funnier because you have to realize that it shouldn't be funny, but it's so absurd that it becomes funnier. It's really powerful stuff from Rick. He's a very good writer in a lot of different ways. He's good emotionally. He's also great comedically. He's good action-wise. He's just good. This guy's good. I get it. I get why he's written so many books and so many people like all of these books. Yes. And it's also something I realized when he was posting on his blog about the casting announcements we talked about earlier. All of the quotes he's saying about people are so nice. The things he's saying about Lance Reddick, powerful. And then I have to remember, because this blog post is written by Rick Riordan, a very talented author.
It's like, wait, oh my God. Like, I just would love if Rick wrote something like that about me, and then I'm like, okay, that's my life complete. That's my life accomplishment done.
Imagine getting a thank you card from him or a postcard or something. I'm sure it's the most captivating thing. You'd have to frame it. You'd have to never get rid of it ever. Oh, yeah. Even if you did something silly like someone let him crash at their place or something like that, he would write just the nicest, honestly, thank you note ever.
Buy him a coffee and he's like, thank you for this glorious nectar. I appreciate your company.
Your selflessness is only matched by the power of our friendship or whatever.
Like, it is like that. And then it literally becomes that thing where it's like, okay, your house is on fire. You can only save one thing. What do you save? The thank you card.
The napkin that Rick scribbled on.
Yes. The thank you card from Rick Riordan.
Now, Annabeth grabs Percy's arm. Ooh, we're getting a lot of these. A lot of little friendly touches. This is good.
Friendly?
Well, yeah. It's good. I like this. As someone that really wants them to get together, I like this a lot. She grabs Percy's arm and she says that she's got this because she knows what the Sphinx is going to ask. Percy doesn't protest because he figures Annabeth is probably the best person suited at riddles anyway. So yeah, she steps up to the podium, and at the podium is a skeleton in a school uniform. She pushes it aside and then apologizes. Great. Love it. Respectful queen. The monster knows Annabeth's name, even though she never said it, and she then says that she'll be presenting Annabeth with 20 riddles. And I was so excited for 20 riddles. I knew it wouldn't happen, but I wanted there to be 20 riddles straight up in the book. I want all of them. Ask me what your twin brother would say. It was a giant block of ice. Give me the riddles. Devastated that honestly, don't get the riddles.
I was so looking forward to this slew of like, okay, guess this riddle. Here's the answer. Guess this riddle. Here's the answer. And then
the horse's name is Friday. His mother's the doctor. All of them.
Yes.
So Annabeth is confused because that's not how it worked in the past. The Sphinx says that they've upped their standards. Annabeth looks to Percy nervously, but he gives her a nod of encouragement, and she turns back to the Sphinx and says that she's ready. The first question is, what's the capital of Bulgaria? 1, that's not a riddle. Yeah. 2, I would have died. But 3, Annabeth gets it correct and says Sophia. Apologies to all the Bulgarian listeners. I did not remember this. Once she said Sophia, I was like, oh yeah, right. But I wouldn't have gotten that on the spot. No way.
Yeah, no, I would have died as well. I'm so sorry.
I'm just bad at capitals in general. I'm not great at it.
I know.
I'm not even good at knowing like major cities sometimes. And I'm currently trying to put together the Europe tour. And some are pretty easy. But every now and then I'm like, Copenhagen's in Denmark, right?
Like just a quick old Google being like, am I not making this up?
Right. It's a lot of those where I'm like, just making sure, especially as I'm sending so many emails to all these different places. I'm really trying to make sure I don't send an email to a venue in Berlin and I'm saying something like, I have lots of listeners in Austria, you know?
And they're like, why would you come here then?
That's interesting because we're in a different country, you American idiot. Annabeth apparently has to fill out a Scantron with her answers, which I think is fantastic as someone who had to do loads of Scantrons. Do you guys have those across the pond?
I have never used because we have our answers scanned.
Okay.
Do you mark certain circles with your answers or something?
Right. Yeah. You have to use a specific type of pencil. You have to fill it all the way. I didn't know if that was just an America thing or if that translated.
We have to write our test answers on a paper. We have to use a certain type of pen and a certain color of pen. I think it's only a black pen. And then it gets scanned in so that people can mark it digitally, but it's never scanned through a machine, marked a lottery ticket kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. America, we have to automate everything. So we put things through a Scantron and then you have to fill it out perfectly and then it'll just kind of say exactly what your score is.
Interesting.
And then you get the fun thing with Scantrons where if you do the same answer too many times in a row, you feel really bad. You really start to second guess. No way 6 questions in a row are C. We can't.
Oh,
it can't be. It can't be. I once had a teacher in high school. We would do 10-question quizzes every Friday. And one of them, he just made every answer B as a joke. One time on the Scantron, it was just a zigzag. Which is the stuff I would pull. But also when you're taking a test, it's just, is everything B? Everything can't be B.
The psychological warfare he caused.
Now, the place where she has to put the Scantron is a bronze machine, some sort of grading machine with the Hephaestus Eta on it. And I thought that was going to be important. It is not important at all. Uncle Rick is really showing his teacher days because he goes through the whole spiel about completely filling the bubble, use a number 2 pencil. I was surprised he didn't even get a Ticonderoga reference in there, which is the #1 pencil brand.
Ooh.
Anyone that prefers some other sort of pencil, you're wrong. Ticonderoga pencils. Oh, they were so nice. They wrote well. They sharpened well. They were just this beautiful shade of yellow. Love a Ticonderoga pencil.
I feel like I'm going to have to get some now.
Yeah, Ticonderoga, sponsor the pod. Come through. The Sphinx is about to move on to the next question, and Annabeth asks what happened to what walks on 4 legs in the morning, which is apparently the old riddle. Annabeth says he walks on 4 legs in the morning like a baby, 2 legs in the afternoon like an adult, and 3 legs in the evening as an old man with a cane. That's the riddle you used to ask. And I was wondering, do you know the answer to this actual riddle? I couldn't really think of the answer. My only guess was a day, because a day is a baby and then gets old and then dies a day later, but I didn't know the answer to this riddle.
I'm trying to remember what it was. So 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the afternoon, and then 3 legs in the evening. Isn't it like a...
Huh?
Oh, wait, no. Isn't it like a shadow? Is it a shadow?
Oh.
No. Is it a shadow? I can't remember.
There is a famous riddle where it is a shadow.
Yeah.
Now, according to the internet, this is apparently what the Sphinx asked Oedipus in Greek mythology. So the question in the story is, what goes on 4 legs in the morning, on 2 legs at noon, and on 3 legs in the evening? Oh, the answer is a man. He crawls on all 4s as a baby. He walks on 2 legs as an adult and walks with a cane in old age. I don't like that. That's technical stuff where it's noon is a metaphor for his middle of his life. Yeah, okay.
No.
I feel better because the whole time Annabeth kept saying the one about the man. And I was like, was the answer not just a man? Okay. All right.
It's a man.
I feel better. However, I do want a riddle one. Maybe the bonus episode for this month on Patreon will just be me doing a bunch of riddles.
Yes. No, that would be so much fun. And then you could get you could do riddle me this. And then you could get the patrons to also answer before you reveal the answer.
Ooh, yeah. I could do the riddle and then put them all there. And then people could try to answer them and then listen to me try to do them.
Yes.
You're giving me lots of good financially beneficial ideas this episode, Joel. I feel like I got to give you, I'm taking you out to a fancy dinner when we do the London show.
Thank you.
Anyway, the Sphinx says that's why they changed the test, because people knew the question and they knew the answer. So the next question, what's the square root of 16? Obviously that's 4. Who's the U.S. president that signed the Emancipation Proclamation? Obviously that's Abraham Lincoln. Annabeth keeps trying to interject, and Percy wishes that she wouldn't because she's doing great, so she should just try to finish all 20 questions. Annabeth is upset, and I'm really upset too. She's mad that they're not riddles. These aren't riddles. Yeah. I was promised riddles. I was given trivia. Trivia is not as fun as riddles. Trivia can be fun. Trivia is nowhere near as fun as riddles. Riddles are great.
Annabeth could sue for false advertising.
Thank you. Thank you. My goodness. Yeah, get this place out of business.
Literally.
They're lying to these contestants. Annabeth says that these are just random facts. Riddles make you think, these don't. And the Sphinx starts to ask a question about force, which, okay, finally, this would have been a fun question for me. But Annabeth jumps in to yell at the Sphinx to stop because she says this test is, quote, stupid. Grover nervously suggests that she finish the test and complain later, a very smart suggestion. But Annabeth states that she is a child of Athena and this test is an insult to her intelligence. Really intense stuff here. I understand being upset, but Annabeth, this feels a little bit like a lack of awareness that you usually have.
It's like a little bit of Perdix just like popped in there and was like, this is an insult to my intelligence.
I was promised riddles. Yeah, it's a little too well actually for me. Percy is partially impressed and partially terrified that Annabeth's pride might get them killed. The Sphinx says that if Annabeth won't take the test, the only option is for her to be eaten. Tyson steps up and screams no, which surprises Percy, given Tyson's backstory with Sphinxes. And Tyson then tackles the Sphinx. Annabeth gets out her knife. Percy whips out Riptide and tells Annabeth to go invisible. She wants to fight, but Percy says that the Sphinx is after her, so letting them all attack while Annabeth is invisible is just the better call. So the Sphinx knocks Tyson aside and starts to charge past Percy, trying to get at Annabeth. Grover pokes it in the eye with a leg bone. Hell yeah. He is very resourceful with bones in fights. He utilized bones during the Polyphemus fight. Now he's utilizing a bone here. Give Grover a bone and the enemy is screwed. If there was some sort of Percy Jackson board game or tabletop game or whatever, I feel like there would have to be some added bonus of if Grover grabs a bone, he turns into the strongest warrior ever.
That would be hilarious.
His bone proficiency is quite high. Annabeth ends up going invisible just in time for the Sphinx to miss her with a lunge. The Sphinx decides to attack Percy, but Tyson chucks the grating machine at her, and it messes up her hair, and then it falls to the ground and smashes into pieces. The bars over the exit lift, and then our whole team sprints for the exit. Percy hopes that Annabeth is doing the same, but he can't tell because she's invisible. The Sphinx follows, but Grover busts out the reed pipes and all the pencils, quote, remembered they used to be parts of trees. I knew they would come back. I didn't think it would be this. This is such a cool way for it to come back. What a fun way for them to come back.
Oh, yeah. I loved this moment. Like, I was like, whoa, hang on a second. These pencils are getting revenge.
It's so good. It's so good. And in my headcanon, they're Ticonderoga pencils.
Of course.
They wrap up the monster's legs in roots and branches. The Sphinx is able to break free, but the Sphinx was held back just long enough for our team to escape. Tyson gets through, pulls Grover into the tunnel. Percy calls for Annabeth, who pipes up to alert Percy that she's right next to him, so she's okay. And the narrator Percy says, we ran through the dark tunnels, listening to the roar of the Sphinx behind us as she complained about all the tests she would have to grade by hand. Like she's British or something, I guess. So now let's get into chapter 11. I set myself on fire. We're just going to do a little bit of it here, but let's get a little bit of the Hephaestus action in the mix.
The chapter title. What were your initial thoughts on reading this chapter title? Because I know we spoke about it last episode, but this one.
It's quite different. I have not read far enough in chapter 11 to get to what it is. So I still don't know because I only read about halfway through. My guess is that Percy gets covered by some sort of evil something, and then he sets himself on fire to burn it off. So maybe he gets wrapped up in evil vines or something, and then he sets himself on fire so that it'll burn that off. And then maybe he's thinking, oh, I'm the water guy. I can extinguish this with some sort of nearby water if I need to put out the fire. That would be my guess. I still have no idea what it relates to, but we will have to see.
Yes.
Anyway, narrator Percy opens this up with, quote, I thought we lost the spider until Tyson heard a faint pinging sound. And I wrote, oh, right, the spider. I completely forgot about the spider. That's how captivating these books are. I forget about things that happened 4 pages ago.
Yes, true. Very true.
The team eventually comes across the spider banging its head on a metal door that looks like a submarine hatch with a big round wheel and everything. It has an Eta on it, so they know they're at the right place. It's Hephaestus's workshop. Grover asks if they're ready to meet Hephaestus. Percy says no, and Tyson gleefully says yes. What a lad. What a lad. Once the door opens, the spider and Tyson excitedly rush in. The rest of the group goes in a bit more casually. Narrator Percy says, the room was enormous. It looked like a mechanic's garage with several hydraulic lifts. Some had cars on them, but others had stranger things. A bronze Hippolacotron, which I was wondering what the heck is that, but then Percy thankfully immediately follows this up with, with its horse head off and a bunch of wires hanging out of its rooster tail, so half horse, half rooster, a metal lion that seemed to be hooked up to a battery charger, and a Greek war chariot made entirely of flames. That sounds cool.
Yes.
How does that work?
I wonder how.
Hephaestus has smaller projects on work tables, and he's got tools hanging on the walls, but they're all in incorrect spots. And they see someone working on a 1998 Toyota Corolla. All that's visible are his legs, his huge legs. One of these huge legs is in a brace. I was wondering, do they change this car type in other editions of the book? Ooh. Was it some sort of British car manufacturer in the UK edition? Did they do something different? I feel like Toyotas are pretty ubiquitous, but I just wonder if they had to switch it for some translations to get across that it's not a cool car.
I think they just kept it the same, because I haven't read like the British editions of them, because I hate the covers. They're
bad. Yeah. They're objectively terrible.
Half boy, half god, all hero.
That's the only good part, and that's also terrible.
Yeah. But I believe they kept it the same, because usually with like editing in like between like British and US stuff, sometimes there'll be like an added explanation if there needs to be, but I think because it's quite recognizable like as a car brand, they didn't need to.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Toyota Corolla is probably well known enough. But if that's not the case, let me know either on social media or an email. I would love to know if they change it to a Geo or a Renault or whatever. Percy is shocked by his appearance, which apparently greatly differs from what he looked like on Olympus. Percy figures he must have cleaned up for the occasion on Olympus, because Hephaestus is wearing a greasy embroidered jumpsuit, which is such a great mechanic vibe. I love that is what he's wearing.
No, literally.
His shoulders look uneven, his head is bulging and misshapen, which always looks like mishappen when I read this word, because it's MISSHEPEN. I know that that's not it, but every time I read misshapen, I have to do a double take. He's constantly scowling, and he has a black beard that smokes and hisses because small fires start and then die out in his beard. That's going to be fun for the CGI editors in season 4.
Yeah. Like the little like
Despite Hephaestus's hands being the size of catcher's mitts, he's able to handle the spider expertly, taking it apart and putting it back together, which felt unnecessary, but then they revealed that there was some sort of issue with the spider. I thought he was just like, oh, hello, friend, let me kill you and bring you back to life. Just get a quick little murder in. But no, he fixed something apparently. Hephaestus looks at the team and he checks to make sure that he didn't make them. He's relieved when Annabeth says that he didn't, because he says that it appears that they were made with shoddy workmanship, which feels uncalled for. Hephaestus says, half-bloods. Could be automatons, of course, but probably not. And Percy says, we've met, sir, which is brutal. And then Hephaestus goes, have we? Which is even more brutal. Yeah. Oh, gosh, the worst.
It's like he's so focused on his machinery that he's like, oh, we met?
He just doesn't care about people at all. Very literally. Tunnel vision. Percy feels like Hephaestus is studying him more than caring. Hephaestus seems disappointed that Grover is a satyr, but happy that Tyson is a cyclops, and he asks Tyson what he's doing traveling with, quote, this lot. Tyson can only let out an and Hephaestus just moves on, saying that there better be a good reason that they've disturbed him. And I don't know what I expected. I guess I expected him to be nicer than this, but he's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, he is. It's definitely interesting when we meet him like this, because I think he just wants nothing more but to just be left alone. And now he's just like, really? This.
And as it goes on, it makes sense because he was treated really poorly by people and he just has an inherent distrust of people. So it seems like he just doesn't like people. So it makes more sense as it goes on. But also, most of the gods are kind of self-absorbed jerks anyway. So I don't know why I thought he would be different.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
And he does say a very funny line because he's all saying, you've kept me busy, blah, blah, blah. Quote, the suspension on this Corolla is no small matter, you know, which is so funny. What a line. What a line. Annabeth says they're looking for Daedalus, which enrages Hephaestus. He asks if they truly seek him out, and Annabeth timidly confirms. Hephaestus says it's a waste of time, and then he quickly turns some scraps into a falcon, you know, like you do. And this delights Tyson. The falcon playfully nibbles at his ear, which is very cute. Hephaestus senses that Tyson wants to tell him something. Tyson's smile fades, and he reveals that they met a 100-handed one, but it was a disappointing experience. Hephaestus isn't surprised, checks to make sure that it was Briares, and Tyson is sad that Briares wouldn't help them because he should be strong, and he is senior to the Cyclopes. He's older than them, so he's supposed to be some sort of role model type figure, and it really let Tyson down. Hephaestus says there was a time he too admired the hundred-handed ones, but people, monsters, and even gods change. He cites Hera as an example, saying that now all she does is talk about how important family is to her, but that didn't prevent her from throwing Hephaestus off of Olympus when she saw his ugly face. And I knew this was the myth, and I didn't remember if it was Hera or Zeus, and thankfully Percy brings it up because Percy says, I thought Zeus did that to you. And Hephaestus spits into a bronze spittoon and says that Hera likes telling that version because blaming Zeus helps her come off as more likable. And now I really got to know, is this something where some myths say it was Hera and some say it was Zeus, or is this just like a Rick Riordan original to flip the script and put it on Hera?
I can't remember for that one specifically, but I know when Rick Riordan talks about like myth and the way that he writes them in his books, he always says like he goes with the version that best suits like the story or the one that he likes more. Mm-hmm. But obviously there's different iterations of the myth. So obviously it's going to be different for different people. He's just like, I've just gone with a version of the myth, but obviously we can chat about like other versions other times. So I think he probably chose one where Hera did do it and then was kind of like, I'm going to make a slight acknowledgement here of like the other version.
Yeah, it's really smart. It's a really smart way to do it because there are so many different versions. So it kind of lets him let people know, no, if you did think this, you're not wrong. There are versions where this happens, and it's a nice, playful way. It's also a sneaky good way to get, well, actually, people to shut up.
True.
But I don't think that's the intention. Yeah. I think it's probably more so of people thinking, wait a second, I thought it was. And then he goes, no, you're right, but there's this other one, and we're going to use that one because it's more fun for what I'm trying to do here.
Exactly.
Hephaestus says that Hera likes families, but she only likes perfect families. So when she saw Hephaestus, she tossed him because he didn't fit the image. And now I feel bad for him. Oh, yeah. But also, you don't have to be rude to people, but also I understand his inherent distrust of others. Hephaestus tells Tyson that he can't trust others. All he can do is trust the work of his own hands. And okay, I mean, he's a little bit jaded, I can see. And yeah, I do feel bad for the guy because that does suck.
Yeah.
You're an Olympic god and your mother was like, yeet off of Olympus? No, not good.
Very mistreated.
Just because of looks. What an awful, awful way.
Honestly.
And that made your life harder because I know in the myths it's like his face was ugly, so then they threw him off and then he, has injuries that hamper him and that.
They forced him to marry Aphrodite. Yeah, he really doesn't have the best life.
No, he really doesn't. Narrator Percy says that he doesn't trust the work of Hephaestus, reminding us about the spiders in Denver at the water park and the giant Talos that killed Bianca. Hephaestus can tell that Percy doesn't like him, but he says he's used to that. He asks Percy what he wants. Percy says he wants to find Daedalus so that they can get to him before Luke does. Hephaestus insists that looking for Daedalus is a waste of time because he won't help them. So Percy asks why. Hephaestus is vague, but mentions that for some, quote, the way we learn not to trust people is more painful, obviously referencing this dream that we have talked about earlier. He tells Percy to ask him for gold or for a flaming sword or a magical steed because these are easier than finding Daedalus. And Annabeth can tell that Hephaestus knows where Daedalus is because at some point his wording was, it would be an expensive favor. So it's just saying it would be a hard thing to do, not that it's impossible. Mm-hmm. Hephaestus says again that it's not wise to look for him, but Annabeth replies, my mother says looking is the nature of wisdom, which is a really nice line. I like that. Yearbook quote material stuff from Athena/Annabeth.
Very true.
Hephaestus asks who her mother is. Annabeth responds, Athena. Hephaestus says, figures. And then he goes on to say that it's a shame Athena never pledged to marry, which is a weird comment coming from a married guy.
Yeah.
Unless there's the myth where he liked Athena, but he was forced to marry Aphrodite. Maybe that's what it's referencing.
Maybe. Interesting. There's so many threads.
I know. I feel like I might have to do 2 episodes worth of myth stuff for this book with Dr. Moya because there's just... This one especially has so much going on. It's really fun.
I mean, I don't think anyone would complain about that.
No, I don't think so either. The only people that complain are the people who skip the in-between episodes like, he's milking it. He's trying to make this podcast as long as he can. I'm not doing that. But also, so what if I was? This is my job and the podcast is free.
It means more content for us and that's amazing.
Oh, what a concept. And thankfully, that is the very, 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 very small minority of folks. Anyway. Hephaestus gives in, saying that he'll tell them what they want to know, but it will come at a price, a favor that he needs done. Annabeth says, name it, which causes Hephaestus to erupt into laughter about the refreshingly rash decisions to agree immediately that these heroes make. Hephaestus presses a button, and Percy can't tell if it's a window or a TV, but it appears and it shows a gray mountain surrounded by forests. Narrator Percy thinks it's a volcano because smoke is rising from its crest, and Hephaestus says that it's one of his forges, and it used to be his favorite forge.
Oh.
Grover identifies it as Mount St. Helens and says that the nearby forests are amazing, and I'm very excited for Washington State getting some love. As someone that lived in Seattle for 2 years, love Washington State getting a rep. It feels like they're going to head there in the book, so that's very fun. Hitting up all these different cities. I love it. I truly love it. Percy's shocked that Grover's been there, and Grover says that he was looking for Pan, and this just makes me really hope Grover finds Pan in the Labyrinth. I really, really want that for him. Annabeth asks Hephaestus why that forge isn't his favorite anymore. Hephaestus says it's because that's where Typhon is trapped. He used to be under Mount Etna, the medical insurance mountain, but when they moved to America, his force was pinned under Mount St. Helens. He's a great source of fire, but a dangerous one because there's always a chance that he will escape.
Typhon, like the video game I was mentioning earlier, he is the main villain of Immortals Phoenix Rising, and he escapes the mountain.
Ooh.
And this is like what happens because of that, because like everyone's basically afraid of him.
Yeah.
Like, it's bad.
That's exactly what Hephaestus says, because Percy asks, okay, what do you want us to do? Fight Typhon? And Hephaestus snorts laughing at the thought, because even the gods ran away from Typhon when he was free. And it's not just regular Typhon. Apparently, the Titan rebellion is making him more restless underneath the mountain. So angry Typhon doesn't sound great. Doesn't sound great at all. Hephaestus says that he senses intruders in the forge. When he goes to check in, they sense him coming and they leave, but he's convinced someone is using it. He's been sending recon automatons, but they never return. He suspects something ancient and evil is there, and he wants to know who is there and if they are in fact trying to free Typhon. Hephaestus thinks that this team is the perfect crew for the job because the evil people might not sense them coming since they aren't gods. Annabeth asks, how are we going to get there? Hephaestus claps and the spider returns. He says the spider will show them the way, assuring them that it is not too far within the labyrinth. And then he encourages them to stay alive because humans are far more fragile than automatons. And that is where we will end this episode of The New Olympian. Joel, thank you so much for joining. What a not fun, but then more fun set of chapters we talked about.
It has been so much fun discussing kind of the characters, the myth, and everything. It just makes me really happy to be a part of the podcast and like come on as a guest.
I absolutely love having you. The listeners absolutely love having you. When I mentioned on Patreon and Director's Commentary, I usually reveal who the guests are way ahead of time. And lots of folks were very stoked that you were returning. Stephen Parra was excited. Everybody's excited. So
I'm really glad about that.
We got to have you on quite a bit, and I'm glad to get you back. And hopefully we will be crossing paths soon. If we can make the London live show work, just in a matter of like a month and a half. If we do either March 9th or March 10th, I got to figure out scheduling stuff. But
yeah.
Could be really fun. In the meantime, though, if people want to find you doing stuff, booktube content, Instagram content, all that, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm available on Fictional Fates on most social media platforms. So you can find me on there, talk about books, talk about other little bits of like encouraging like lifestyle and stuff. So it's great. And I also have a dedicated videos on the entirety of the Rionverse. So Be sure to check those out.
Amazing. I can't wait to watch those videos when I'm a spoiler-free boy. It'll be great. I'll be like, oh, look, it's Joel before I met him. Oh, yay, so much fun. Well, Joel, thank you so much for joining. Listeners, thank you for listening. And until next time, when we figure out how it goes when they get over to Washington, I'll see you later. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The New Olympian. This podcast is created, hosted, and produced by me, Mike Schubert. I also run the social media and the website. Our editor is Sherry Guo. The music is by Bettina Campomanes and Brandon Grugel, and the art is by Jessica E. Boyd. If you love the show, you're all caught up on the show, and you just can't get enough, you should check out our Patreon, where you can get access to loads of bonus content, bonus episodes, bloopers, director's commentary, monthly Q&A live streams. All sorts of good stuff lives at thenewsolympian.com/Patreon. And if you want to rep the show, you can get some merch at thenewsolympian.com/merch. If you want to be part of a larger community, you can join the Patreon, get access to our Discord, but you can also check us out on social media. We're at News Olympian on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We have a subreddit, reddit.com/r/thenewsolympian. We even have a TikTok account that Sherry runs. It's at News Olympian. Lots of good stuff on social media. This show wouldn't be possible without our patrons, and I want to give a shout out to our Ultra God tier patrons: Lotta Bartova, Kelsey Gillespie, The Damn Steam Nuggets, Vicky Garcia, Ellie Hoskovchova, Veronica Bartova, Haley Hastings, Robin Garcia, Frida Vikstrom, Megan Moon, Olivia Y, Craig McRoberts, Taylor Payne, Giselle Salvador, Peter Johnson, The Twin, Sabrina Balsiger, Boney Pony, Heather McMillan, Casey Williams, Williams, Polly Burge, Nikki Harris, Tatiana Schmidt, Sandra Rose, Bridget Lowry, Josh Sayer, Josh Wilkie, Abby Ryan, Wise Girl, Ashton Gabrielson, Marco Redhouse, Falcon, Joey James, Christopher William Boucher, Caden Max, Sam Reeby, Carly Allen, Riley Kiedis, Mary Kelly, Audra, Mackenzie, Mrs. O'Leary, Aaron Wood, Rodith Kalna, Milo Kim, Fred Cabras, Harlan Christ, CC Reeds 23, Sandkoff, Julia Kendall, Emil Oscar Thomason, Liz Cardigan, Michelle Spurgeon, Zachary Hamilton, Sarah Neal, Ricky, Francesca Pacheco, John Drillsma, Demigod Nurse, Rayla Matthews, and Riley Draken. If you want to help out the show in a non-monetary way, tell a friend about the show. That really helps a ton. Reach out to someone directly and say, hey, you love Percy Jackson, or hey, you've been looking for an excuse to read Percy Jackson. There's this podcast. It's very good. The host is very humble. You could also talk about us on social media or leave us a rating and review on whatever podcast app you're using. All these things help, and I really appreciate all of you who have done that or will do it in the future. But I'm just so thankful that you tuned into this episode, and hope you tune into our next episode where we'll be joined by a new guest, one of my longtime friends, Michael Hollis, as we finish chapter 11 and do all of chapter 12. It's going to be a very long episode and a very intense one, but a full chapter and a half episode of some really intense stuff coming up next week. But until then, I'll see you later. Hey everyone, how's it going? It's me, ASMR Mike. So as I mentioned, I'm here in San Diego, and we did a bunch of outdoorsy stuff over this weekend for Johnny's bachelor party. One of the things we did was we went to the beach when it was really low tide, and we were able to walk out on some rocks in the Pacific Ocean, and there were some waves crashing. Here is that audio. Thank you so much for listening.